This man didn't run from the FBI. He stood right in front of them, and they couldn't touch him. For nearly a decade, the FBI chased a man they were absolutely sure was guilty. They followed him. They watched him. They mapped his entire network. They knew where he slept, who he talked to, and how money moved around him. Inside the bureau, there was no debate. Agents didn't ask if he was responsible. They asked how long it would take before they could finally prove it. And yet, year after year, every case collapsed. Evidence stalled. Witnesses backed off. Charges failed to stick. Not because he was innocent, but because he was careful. Careful enough that the most powerful law enforcement agency in the world couldn't put him behind bars. This isn't a story about luck. It's not about corrupt officials or technical mistakes. This is a story about a man who understood the system better than the people enforcing it. A man who stayed just far enough inside the law to be untouchable. The FBI didn't lose because they were weak. They lost because the game was never designed for someone like him. And by the end of this story, you'll understand why knowing the truth is not the same thing as proving it. To understand how this happened, you need to understand the world this story lives in. Post-Cold War America. Late 1990s into the early 2000s, the FBI had become a machine. Advanced surveillance. Federal task forces. Agencies sharing data like never before. This was an era when criminals didn't just get arrested, they got dismantled. Financial trails were traced. Communications were intercepted. Patterns were analyzed. The Bureau wasn't guessing anymore. It was calculating. And when the FBI calculated that someone was guilty, history said the ending was simple: prison. But this case didn't end that way. The man at the center of this story didn't look like a criminal. No flashy lifestyle. No public threats. No obvious red flags. He looked normal, middle-aged, clean record, business owner, family man. The kind of person you trust with your spare key. He didn't act like someone hiding something, because he wasn't hiding it. He was compartmentalizing it. Every part of his life existed inside clean, legal boxes. And that was the first mistake the FBI made. They underestimated how intentional that normalcy really was. Before the FBI ever opened a file on him, he was already winning. He ran legitimate businesses, paid taxes, filed paperwork on time. He surrounded himself with professionals, lawyers, accountants, consultants, whose job wasn't to break the law, but to make sure he never accidentally crossed it. Nothing illegal happened directly in his presence. Nothing incriminating was written down. Conversations stayed vague. Instructions were indirect. He didn't give orders. He created environments where things just naturally happened. What he was involved in wasn't street crime. It wasn't violence. It wasn't anything you could point to in a single moment. It was financial orchestration, regulatory exploitation, white-collar crime that never looked like a crime while it was happening. Money moved through legal businesses, contracts, and intermediaries. On paper, everything checked out. In reality, entire systems were being bent just enough to benefit him and the people around him. Nothing he did was obviously illegal in isolation. The crime only existed when you stepped back and looked at the full picture. And the FBI never saw the full picture. The first time the FBI noticed him, it wasn't dramatic. No raid. No arrest. Just a pattern. Money moving in ways that didn't quite add up. Associates tied to crimes, but never him. Businesses appearing near illegal activity without technically participating in it. He wasn't at the crime scene. He wasn't on tape saying anything illegal. But he was always close. Close enough to benefit. Far enough to deny involvement. To experienced agents, it was obvious. This wasn't luck. This was design. He never committed the act himself. That was the key. He worked through layers, companies, partners, advisors, and third parties. Each layer created distance. Each step added legal insulation. He didn't say, "Do this." He structured deals so someone else would see the opportunity and act on it. By the time anything questionable happened, he was already 2 or 3 steps removed. Legally clean. Technically uninvolved. Completely insulated. As the years went on, the FBI escalated quietly. Surveillance teams tracked him across state lines. Financial analysts rebuilt transactions from fragments. Informants were flipped. But every time the Bureau got close, the same problem appeared. The evidence stopped one step short. Money trails ended in legal entities. Conversations stopped before crossing legal lines. Witnesses could describe what felt true, but couldn't swear to what they saw. The FBI didn't lack effort. They lacked proof. This is where most criminals crack. Pressure builds. Mistakes happen. But not with him. He understood something most people never do. The law isn't about truth. It's about evidence. And evidence has rules. Rules he memorized. Rules he respected. Rules he exploited. He never reacted emotionally. Never rushed. Never acted alone. Every move he made already had a legal explanation waiting for it. That's why the FBI kept hitting the same wall. To win a case, they needed intent. They needed direct action. They needed a moment where he clearly crossed the line. And that moment never existed. No illegal messages. No recorded orders. No money moving directly into his hands from a crime. Every connection stopped just short of proof. The Bureau could explain what was happening. They just couldn't legally explain that he was the one doing it. As pressure increased, he adjusted. Meetings stopped happening in person. Messages became indirect. Businesses restructured. Ownership shifted. Every move was planned before it was made. Inside the Bureau, frustration grew. Agents knew he was guilty. Everyone agreed. But agreement doesn't win cases. Evidence does. And they didn't have it. Then came what looked like the break they'd been waiting for. A former associate agreed to cooperate. On paper, it was everything they needed. Insider knowledge. First-hand access. Direct involvement. Prosecutors spent months building a case around this witness. Indictments were drafted. Pressure mounted. And then, quietly, it all fell apart. The witness didn't disappear. He wasn't threatened. He simply couldn't prove intent. He could describe outcomes. He could describe environments. But he couldn't say the man ever ordered anything illegal. In one meeting, years of work collapsed. That's when the FBI realized something unsettling. This wasn't a criminal hiding from the law. This was someone who had designed his entire life around it. Every safeguard, every layer, every distance was intentional from the start. He wasn't reacting to investigations. He had planned for them long before they existed. The Bureau tried again. Different angles. Financial crimes. Conspiracy. Racketeering. Every time, the same wall. Agents rotated off the case exhausted. New agents joined confident, and left disillusioned. The man didn't run. He didn't disappear. He stayed exactly where he was. Because he understood a brutal truth. You don't have to outrun the FBI. You just have to stay inside the rules. Years later, the final push came. Multiple agencies. Months of preparation. This was supposed to be the end. Evidence gathered from every angle. Pressure applied everywhere at once. And once again, nothing. No smoking gun. No illegal order. No direct connection. At that point, the goal changed. It was no longer about conviction. It was about containment. The FBI couldn't prove guilt, but they could disrupt. Businesses were scrutinized. Associates were warned. His world slowly shrank. Not publicly, quietly. Eventually, the case faded. Not because it was solved, but because it couldn't be. The file wasn't closed with a conviction. It was closed with a phrase every agent hates writing: insufficient evidence. The man walked free. Not exposed. Not celebrated. Just untouched. And here's the part that should make you uncomfortable. The FBI never said he was innocent. They just stopped trying to prove he was guilty. Because systems like the justice system aren't built to punish people who understand them perfectly. They're built to punish people who make mistakes. And this man didn't make any. The most dangerous people aren't reckless. They're disciplined. Patient. They never cross the line. They just stand close enough to control everything behind it. If the FBI knew he was guilty and still couldn't prove it, how many others are doing the same thing right now? And how many systems depend on us believing that knowing the truth is enough? Because sometimes it isn't. If stories like this make you question how power really works, subscribe for more true stories they don't like talking about.